Welcome everyone, hello lovely ones. In this video today I would like to share with you a little bit about how to bring back libido after birth and after pregnancy. So my name is Surya from mysacredyonimassage.com, and maybe you can still remember the time when your physician told you that you cannot have sex for 6 weeks after giving birth. What? When my physician actually gave me the green light after I gave birth, after the 6 weeks waiting time, my reaction was more like, In fact, only 53% of women go back to lovemaking and to have sex and intimacy with their partner after the 6 weeks suggested period of time. So there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken if you don't feel like sticking anything up your VJ right now, and it's all fine and it's okay. So let's have a look at what is actually happening in our body and what causes a low libido in our body. And we need to look at this in a very holistic way, because not one solution fits all. So it's very good to find out what is the reason for your low libido, and then we look into the causes and what we can change and what we can do. So let's first address the physical body. What causes low libido in the physical body? And the most obvious one after having given birth is sleep deprivation. Yes, the nights after having given birth become longer and longer and longer and longer and longer, and you're carrying the baby, you're nursing the baby, you're soothing the baby, and you might not even be fully asleep because you're worried if the baby is fully okay all the time. So that is not very sexual or a sensual place to go to, and it's actually just a lack of sleep doesn't help us very much in feeling very intimate or sexual with our partner. With a huge lack of sleep, all we are trying is to pass and get by to the day without feeling like a zombie, but rather like a human being. And that's okay, and that will change with time as well. Libido is a luxury energy. So if everything in our body is harmonious, it's balanced, it's in a kind of good state of being, our libido can be increased. But as soon as one of these aspects is falling out, maybe there's a lack of sleep or there's changes in our body, it will affect our libido. So let's have a look at the physical body. What else is the change happening? And for example, it's the hormonal challenges and the hormonal changes in our body. Before pregnancy, our level of estrogen is at its best. Like I heard, for example, someone saying that estrogen is the hormone that makes us purr like a pussy. And I'm not speaking about your cat right now here. So estrogen is the one that makes us feel sexy, makes us wear makeup, makes us walk in high heels, or our skin is beautiful and shining, and it's also making us feeling creative and high. During pregnancy, there's different hormones playing a role. For example, serotonin, our happiness hormone, or dopamine, the hormone of intense pleasure. Let's speak about orgasmic birth, for example. And there's oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Some people also call it the love hormone, the one that wants to cuddle and wants to be together with your baby and with your partner. But what rises up needs to come down as well. So after 3 days after birth, there comes the baby blues, and mood swings are happening. There is grief, there is sadness, there's feeling of overwhelm, there's exhaustion. Then comes the hormone called progesterone, our PMS hormone, that makes us feel stressed out and causes us feeling anxiety and not wanting to be touched at all. Additionally, it's prolactin, the breastfeeding hormone, which makes us help to nurse our baby, but at the same time it may play a major role in the refractory phase after having had an orgasm. That's the one when we feel too sensitive after having had an orgasm to be touched in this moment. So when breastfeeding, prolactin and progesterone are very high in our being, and that seems like not very much of a cocktail of sensuality and sexuality. So not a very sensual or sexual combination. And that's okay, and that will change with time as well. So by understanding these changes in our body, we don't have to feel broken, or we don't have to feel that something is wrong with us. For me, it was a huge release and relief having all this knowledge. There can also be vaginal dryness after having given birth, and this you could use, for example, lubrication, or maybe use a very nice coconut oil. There might be also problems with vaginismus. So vaginismus is the moment when the pelvic floor muscles tense a lot, and they can be so tensed that women might not even be able to put a Q-tip in. Yes, you heard correctly, a Q-tip. So there's different levels and intensities of vaginismus. For some it's the Q-tip, for others it's the finger, and for others it shows up as intense burning sensations inside the yoni, as if there is fire inside. And having these kind of symptoms, you don't have to have had a natural birth. Even after a cesarean, after a C-section, this is possible. For me, for example, I had to have a cesarean, a C-section, and besides having to deal with all the grief and the sadness that comes with letting go of my dream birth, I had to have a very tense pelvic floor afterwards. So I was unable to actually put anything inside of me for 8 months. There could also be pain during scar tissues, either a cesarean, a tearing, or an episiotomy. For this, you can actually desensitize the scar tissues, and you can talk to your physician or physical therapist about that. Let's now talk about the emotional body. For example, in the emotional body, there are so many symptoms of postpartum depression for so many women. Feelings of sadness, of grief, of anxiety due to the hormonal changes. Hormonal changes also influence how we perceive our body. So, for example, I heard a woman saying her boobs are utility boobs and not anymore her sexy boobs. Or we're gaining weight, or we're having a little bit of a difference of a postpartum body. So what once was maybe a very nicely toned muscular body is now more like wobble, wobble, wobble everywhere. Not to forget our relationship challenges. Having a newborn at home does not only turn our world upside down, but it also changes the entire relationship dynamic. So maybe there is resentment towards your child or towards your partner, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're not feeling like socializing anymore. Or maybe your body does not feel like yours anymore at all. So all of these different challenges doesn't make us feel very sexual or sensual in that moment. There's also trauma in the body, so working with the trauma, not only physically, but also emotional, it's very important. And please be aware that there is help out there, so talk to your physician or your physical therapist. What worked before might not work now anymore. For example, for me, I did not like foreplay at all before I gave birth. I just wanted him to enter me and to start getting me in the mood like this. Now it's impossible for me to make love without any foreplay. I must have it just in order to feel emotionally ready. So look into your own emotional behavior. What are the things that are changing from before birth and after birth? Also, like certain scar tissues might make it challenging for you to make love in different positions, for example. So certain positions might have worked before, don't work anymore right now, because of a cesarean, maybe a tearing, or maybe simply your abdominal muscles haven't closed yet anymore and certain positions are not feeling comfortable. So find out what feels comfortable for you in each moment and learn to adjust right now. Learn a new version of yourself. What about our mind? Freud, for example, defines libido as the energy that comes from instincts and desires towards our behavior. So he does not only speak about sexuality, but actually all what we are doing, all of our motivation derives from our libido. So what I suggest is actually to take small steps to become again creative in your life. So taking a little bit of time, instead of focusing only on bringing intimacy back, of creating space for maybe taking a nice hot bath, or starting to draw again, or to write, or to dance, or to do passionate things, whatever is what enlightens your heart in a certain way. So once you have this sense of accomplishment in a different area of your life, besides nursing, carrying the baby, besides changing diapers or cooking the food, it might bring you actually back the spark in your relationship and also in your intimacy. And do you actually want to have sex? And I mean, do you want to have sex? Or is it more like trying to fulfill your partner's desires? While I fully understand the desire to bring back intimacy for you and your partner, it is very important that you are ready. Or maybe your partner is not ready after having witnessed the birth. Maybe he is still processing the new family dynamic or the new relationship dynamic. So what you can do, bring in communication, cuddles, caressing, kisses, like gentleness, being appreciative of each other and sending out great gratitude towards each other. For me personally, I had the feeling maybe it will never change again. Maybe I will be broken forever. And I can assure you it will change. For me it took about 8 months, and for other women it might take longer or much shorter. So I had many expectations in my lovemaking, and with this a lot of sadness coming up, because my mind wanted to have sex with my partner, but my body was not ready. And really it was a process for me to slowly accept this and to slowly build up trust and intimacy again with my partner. We sometimes think that in a long-term relationship we always feel the trust, but there are certain resentments towards each other. There's maybe anger or disappointment. So we take slowly steps towards building up the trust and the intimacy again on these different levels as well. I was feeling I was not a good partner anymore, and I was so disappointed because I felt like my body is my enemy in this moment. Like my mind wanted to have sex with my partner and wanted to feel this cuddles and this intimacy, but my body was simply not ready. So I took the time, and I needed to have the time. And for me it was important of actually don't even try to think about having an orgasm. I needed to learn to appreciate every little step along the way. Oh, today I really appreciated we could put maybe a finger inside. Or the next time was like, oh, it was so beautiful to just have you lying on my chest and enjoying this intimacy. So it was each step at a time we needed to learn to appreciate, and not trying to reach to a certain goal of having the same lovemaking that maybe we had before our child. Also, timing is important. Initially we thought, oh, we just make love when the baby is asleep. But actually, in fact, it was that our baby is not a very heavy sleeper. So as soon as we mourned a little bit in bed or we moved too fast, like the baby would wake up and would destroy the whole intimacy moment. So it took us a while to actually feel ready, to have a friend coming over to take him for a moment. And even though he was just outside the house, I felt safe enough to actually really go into a really intimate moment with my partner. I could have my laughter, I could have my playfulness, I could make all the noises I wanted in the bedroom, and it was just beautiful to bring back the intimacy like this. So find what works for you with your baby. Maybe he or she is a good sleeper or not. Finding friends that can take care of him for an hour, just for you to connect and have this intimacy again. So maybe it takes a year to rediscover your sexuality, as if you have a new lover, like really learning anew your intimate life. Our sexuality is holistic and approaching it in a very individual way. So now I'll talk to you a little bit about the different causes. So by finding out what is your cause of the low libido, you can change the entire setting, and you can change all of the outcome and implement different changes and different modalities to bring back the libido into your life. And now that I shared my story, I would love to hear your story, your libido story. And by sharing, we can actually help and support each other as a woman, of not feeling broken, of feelings that there's nothing wrong with us, and of feeling worthy again. And isn't that sexy?